Understanding Required Documentation, brought to you by the Safety Codes Council.
Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to go into why accurate documentation matters and when it may be required. When you submit your plans for a building permit, you're not just handing in drawings. Depending on the complexity of your project, you may also need to include a set of supporting documents. These documents help explain the materials, systems, and methods you're using so your project can be reviewed properly and built safely. The required documents vary depending on what you're building, how complex it is, and what your municipality or authority having jurisdiction requires. This video will walk you through the most common supporting documents, who provides them, and when you may need to hire a professional to help.
What supporting documents are required?
Let's start with some of the most common types of documentation you might be asked for. Engineering drawings. These are technical drawings prepared by a registered professional showing how specific structural components will be built, like foundations, beams, retaining walls, tall walls, or complex roof systems. They must include the engineer's stamp showing they've taken responsibility for the design. Joist and truss layouts. These show how your floors and roof are supported. Trusses are usually pre-engineered, and the layout will come from the truss manufacturer. Joists may be conventional lumber or engineered wood, and the layout should show spacing, size, orientation, beam run details, and the specifications. Window and door schedule. This is a table that lists all the new windows and doors in your project, including sizes, types, and performance ratings. This information is often required to verify energy code compliance and egress. Section 936 Compliance Report. This report is based on Section 936 of the National Building Code Alberta Edition, which deals with energy efficiency in houses and small buildings. It shows how your building will meet the requirements for insulation, air tightness, heating, and ventilation. If your project includes conditioned space, that is, space that is heated and insulated, you'll likely need a 936 compliance report. These are just a few examples. Depending on your project, you might also need HVAC layouts, soil reports, geotechnical evaluations, energy modeling, or ventilation calculations.
Documentation will vary, depending on project and jurisdiction.
Keep in mind that there's no universal checklist. Some authorities having jurisdiction provide specific application checklists, so always check with your AHJ to confirm what's required. A large multifamily project in an urban area will need far more documentation than a single garage in a small town. Even between municipalities, requirements may vary. One city may ask for a specific structural detail, another might want additional zoning information. That's why it's important to check with your local municipality early in the process. Ask what documentation they require for the specific type of project you're doing.
Who should prepare these documents?
Some documents you can prepare yourself, especially if the project is simple and you understand what's needed. But for more complex work, or when you're dealing with structural loads, insulation values, energy efficiency, or engineered products, you'll likely need help from a qualified professional. That might include a structural or civil engineer, an architectural technologist or architect, a joist or truss supplier, an HVAC designer, a licensed interior designer, or a registered energy advisor. Hiring a professional can make the process smoother. They know what the code requires and how to prepare the documents and how to work with inspectors and permit offices.
Examples: what documentation looks like for different projects.
Let's look at a couple examples to show how the required documentation changes depending on the complexity of what you're building.
Example 1, a basic detached garage.
Let's say you're building a standard detached garage, no plumbing, no heating. For this project, you'll typically need architectural drawings showing the size, layout, doors, windows, and how it fits on the property, structural drawings showing how the roof and foundation are built. You might not need an engineer at all unless you're using an unusual slab design or building on a slope. If you're using manufactured trusses, the truss supplier will provide stamped layouts. If you're stick framing the roof yourself, you may need to show how the rafters and ceiling joists span and are sized and connected. Now, if you're planning to build a garage with a secondary suite on top, that's a different story. Now you're adding conditioned space, a living area that must meet energy code, ventilation, fire separation, and other requirements. That means you will need a 936 compliance report, mechanical ventilation and heating plans, and most likely, structural drawings stamped by an engineer or architect. The documentation grows with the complexity of the project.
Example 2. A main residence with living space.
Our second example, a main residence with a living space. For a new house or a major addition with living space, you will need full architectural plans, a stamped truss and joist layout, a window and door schedule, a 936 compliance report showing insulation values and energy calculations, and possibly stamped structural drawings for foundations or floor systems. The National Building Code Alberta Edition allows a building of up to 600 square meters and 3 stories or less to be designed by someone who is not a registered professional, but only if it follows conventional construction methods. If you are using non-traditional systems, like grade beams with piles, or structural steel framing, you'll almost certainly need an engineer or architect to stamp the drawings.
Summary.
In summary, good documentation sets you up for a smooth permitting process and a better build. To recap, find out what documents are required for your type of project. Understand that the requirements may vary by project type and by municipality. Work with qualified professionals when the project calls for it. And remember, the more complete and accurate your documents are, the fewer delays and revisions you'll face. All of this matters because permits, and the documents that support them, exist to protect people. They help to ensure your project is safe, built to code, and fits with the community. Submitting the right documentation helps you get approved faster, avoid costly mistakes, and build with confidence. Whether you are a builder, a tradesperson, or a homeowner, getting it right on paper means fewer problems in the field. It is faster, cheaper, and safer to catch issues before the first shovel hits the ground. And remember that if you are unsure or want more information, contact your local municipality. Speak to the authority having jurisdiction. They are there to help point you in the right direction.